I've talked to a lot of guys. I've worked with a lot of guys. It's very rare to find a quality in somebody that is so like goal oriented, purpose oriented, especially in the social sense where they all deal with the same issue, the same goals of like wanting to create abundance, wanting to create social circle. But when it comes time to actually face rejection or put in the work or to build something, a community and bring people in, a lot of them struggle. There's this idea of like everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face. So one thing that I admire most in people, or one of the qualities is that go-getter attitude to create something and to be able to bring people together and move people. My friend Ayin here is a doctor and brand new to a city in LA, just moving, and created his social circle out of scratch, something that I haven't seen many people do to the extent that he has done. And so I had to have him on today to talk about his story, how he came about building that from nothing and having the lifestyle that he has now. Whereas like most guys struggle to get to that point. So welcome, Dr. Ayin in the house, and welcome to the Becoming podcast. I'm your host, Gor, and let's get into it. Thanks for coming, Ayin.
Thanks, Gor. That was a pretty flattering intro, I have to say. Thank you.
Well deserved. So I wanted to get to know your story a bit. We never really had like a sit down conversation to talk through all the struggles that you've had. It's always been around like just partying and together and having fun. But I'd love to hear more about your starting point and how you got into this. And I guess all the way back to way before all of this happened.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. So I'll just give a little background about where I've lived, my education and things like that. But I'm originally from Northern California. So I grew up, about an hour south of San Francisco Bay Area. And then you flattered me a lot. I'm a dentist. Some people call it a doctor. The way I see it, we're doctors on social media, but if there's an emergency, we're a dentist. That's
Yeah.
how I like to put
I'm
that.
the same.
But so, I went through a lot of schooling, undergrad, middle school, did residency. I specialize with children, so I'm a pediatric dentist. I guess a good starting point for me would be when I was in high school. I would say around junior year of high school. I would say a little bit more academically focused in high school. I was focused on getting good grades. I wasn't the nerdiest, the smartest, but I leaned in that direction. But about halfway through high school, I was thinking, okay, how do I put myself more socially out there? I would look at people in high school that would party, go out, were very popular. And I thought to myself, how can I do that for myself? And there was a guy in my high school, and it really stood out to me. He played football. He was popular. Everyone liked him. And then at the end of the school year, they would always have a newspaper that said what school people got into. And he got into Stanford. And I couldn't believe it because in my head, I was thinking, you're either smart, academically focused, or you're social. So he was a couple of years above me, but that really clicked to me. I was like, wow. So it's possible. It's not necessarily that they're inversely proportional, but you could possibly achieve both.
Yeah.
And it really got me to, okay, so how do I lean that way? How do I start becoming more popular, be likable, social? And I think that's where the initial idea was implanted in me. And it's funny. I had another friend of mine who we were in the same boat. We were like, okay, how do we do this? The first thing we thought was, okay, you got to dress better, dress popular. I remember at that time, I didn't pay attention to what I would. I'd put on a t-shirt, put on jeans. I went to a public school, so you could wear anything that's
Yeah.
reasonable. We started wearing things that were more trendy. So I'm 34. I graduated high school in 2009, but around then the hip thing was, oh wow, skinny jeans. That's when it was first started going in. And I remember I was like, this is kind of cool. Let me buy a pair. The first day I wore them, everyone looked at me differently. Just, whoa. Some people were like, what are you doing? And some people were like, whoa, this is like really cool. But to me, it started with the way you dress, caring about how you look
Yeah. Absolutely.
and being able to dress. So feel like that was a good, interesting starting point for me. But I would say I was always, and I think a lot of people can maybe relate to this, but I felt like, okay, so I, started going out a little bit more, partying a little bit towards the end of high school, went to college and thought, okay, I want to be able to meet people, have fun, and party. And it always felt like I have to really try. Like I have to really try to be social. Like it was taxing on my energy. Like I could maybe do it, but I felt like I had to try. But so one of the first things I did, it was maybe about a year in college, I joined a fraternity and I thought that would help me become more social. And it did, but not in the way that I thought actually, which is interesting. It wasn't until I actually lived in the frat house where you're living with 40 or 50 guys that are constantly around you forced me to be more of an extrovert versus
Yeah.
before I was naturally introverted and I had to try to be an extrovert.
Yeah.
Just putting myself around a lot of different guys made me feel very extroverted,
It's really interesting.
which was
Not to interrupt, but so many people have that limiting belief of like I can't be extroverted or introverted, but it's a learned thing. So it's really interesting that you went through that. But go on.
yeah, no, so I am becoming more and more extroverted. And to me, I mean, anyone can be an extrovert, but the way you define it is what makes you feel more comfortable. For me, spending most of my time by myself felt most comfortable. And I would do a few interactions here or there with people, and I would really put all my energy to appear social, for example. But that tide started shifting after I was living in a house with 40 or 50 guys. And not just the partying, but it's the fact that, okay, it's not like, okay, I can go to a party and put all my energy to be social. Now I have to embody that because I'm literally around people all the time. So it was learning, what things to talk about, how to be around people, watching sports games. Hey, everyone's a human, right? Everyone
Yeah.
has times when they need alone time, but times when they're out there. But so what's really interesting is after that, I got into dental school. And if you think living in a frat house, you have to put yourself out there, being in dental school, you do, because then you have to start dealing with patients. You have to deal with people every day, multiple people. And so it really, really forced me to shift and be more comfortable with it. The more I did it, the more I noticed, oh, people respond to this more positively than, let's say, this other thing. And I started getting more and more comfortable. I think I would say I felt socially happy or, my most social self, not even when I was in a frat, but when I was in dental school. I think I took some of the comfortabilities that I had while I was in a frat and I built upon that
Hmm.
in dental school. And then the last thing, so I specialize with kids. I'm a pediatric dentist. And that's a whole nother layer on top of that because when you're around kids, if you're nervous, if you feel a little off, if you're awkward, they sniff it like that. And then they get nervous and they get awkward. So you have to really be able to make them comfortable and be
Right.
happy around them. So that's another layer. So I guess I'm very lucky because all my academic training, whether I realized it at the time or not, kind of catered me towards being more social. So now I'm around kids all day and you have to be happy, you have to be positive, you have to make it fun to make them comfortable. And you can take all of those same things and apply it to adults because everyone wants to be around someone that's positive, someone that's happy. So, in that sense, I'm lucky because my professional training inadvertently geared me towards being more social, being more happy.
Mhm.
Which I think the best way to make friends, the best way to create a social network is making a fun atmosphere, making everyone feel
Right.
comfortable, but also happy. No one wants someone that's negative and pessimistic. Even if they are themselves, you kind of prefer someone that lightens the day, brightens the mood a little bit.
I had that phase too where I like there was that one guy, mine was in college, was mechanical engineer, got good grades, and buff, like one of the buffest people at the gym. And I was like, what is up with this guy? I didn't know that was legal. Like I didn't know you could do both. So ever since then, I was just like, why not me? Every obstacle that came up, I was like, why not me? And that was a driving force for me a lot of times, motivator, so to speak, to put myself out there. I would consider myself a little on the extreme side of the introvert in terms of where I started. Introvert, yeah. But I definitely felt that and had that same experience of seeing myself grow out of one thing and into another, and then being able to balance like in and out of both. Because ultimately, social dynamics is a momentum game. If you build and you have that already there, you're in it. And so that extroverted side stays warm a lot of time. and you're able to go in and out. You can take your space when you need it, and you also enjoy connecting with people and finding that balance. Now, at what point did you start to build that social circle? Did you already would you say you already had that skill when you moved to LA for the first time and you were confident that you're going to build it again? Or was it something completely new that you took on out of that necessity of like starting from scratch?
That's a great question. I would say that there's a few parts to that. When I moved to LA, I definitely felt more comfortable. One of the things for me is I've lived in a few different cities. So I went to undergrad at UC Davis in Northern California.
Mhm.
It's a small college town close to Sacramento and San Francisco. I made friends there and through the fraternity. And then I moved to San Francisco while retaining some of those friends. Went to dental school there. So I made friends in dental school, retained some of those friends from college. And then I did a year in New York where everyone I knew, boom, gone. I moved to the complete other side of the country.
Mm.
I had 2 friends with me, and I think that was probably where I learned it the most because up until that point, I had training wheels. I had these institutions I could rely on that again, it's not necessarily easy still, but if you have college, if you have these, it's a little bit easier than going to a city where you don't know anyone. I was able to make a lot of friends in New York, some of them moved to LA. So I was only in New York for a year, but I made like 20 solid friends that I still keep in touch with. And we were going out in big groups. I was also in residency, so I didn't have money to go to clubs and get tables. But one of my good friends, Garrett, and I, we became friends with club promoters that are
Mhm.
guys. And they would sneak me and him in a group of girls, and we would maybe pay him 50, $60 and we would join their table. And that was mind boggling because we were able to go out every weekend to a club that we normally would have had zero chance to get into. But I took that move to LA. And so now I'm in LA and I essentially don't have a big undergraduate situation or even a grad school. I was in residency in LA. I went to USC. There were 7 other people with me. And so I became friends with them, but it's not the same kind of help I had where when I was in undergrad or dental school with the fraternity.
Mhm.
But I had a couple people there, a few friends from New York, a few friends from San Francisco that moved to LA. So I had a little backbone of close friends, but I was much more confident when I was in LA because I thought able to pull it off in New York. And so, okay, now I'm in a different city, but I was able to do it once before. So it was easier to build that social network, I would say. I think all it takes, if you're scared of doing it by yourself, is 1 or 2 like minded people with you. And it's just so much easier to grow. In my opinion, if you have 1 or 2 friends that have the same goals as you, you're both positive, you both want to be social, then it makes it a lot easier.
Mhm.
So that was my starting point, I would say, in LA.
Yeah. Okay. So you made friends with the 7 people there. You had a few of them that were like minded. When and how did 310 Coffee Club come about?
I'm so glad you asked about that. So I have a good friend, his name's Orr. Uh, he's not Simon on social media, but his first name's Orr. Knew him from high school. We went to rival high schools together. He moved to LA the same time I moved to LA from New York. And him, myself, and one of my other friends, we were hanging out one day. And so we were thinking, we were brainstorming. We were all single at the time, but how do you meet people? A lot of it was maybe catered towards, okay, how do you meet girls, but also how do you make friends? And so
Mhm.
we were thinking, okay, it's either mutual friends, I guess dating apps, or bars. Which is cool, but it's limiting in a way, right? Because if it's not 10 p.m. on a Friday or a Saturday, right?
Yeah.
Or if you don't have that many mutual friends to begin with, you're so limiting yourself. And I had a million and one problems with the dating apps that I didn't like as much. But so we were like, okay, what can we do to meet people? And we're brainstorming. And so our thought was, and this or really helped manifest this was why don't we go to a coffee shop this Sunday and let's all invite 7 or 8 of our friends and see who shows up. And that was really the birth of Coffee Club was all of us inviting some friends that we have, bringing them together and just getting a cup of coffee.
Mhm.
So there's a picture the first time we did it and it was maybe 15, maybe 20 people. and we mostly knew each other, but I met a few of his friends, he met a few of my friends, and it was getting coffee on a Sunday and making people. And just from literally all of us just texting a few people, we
Yeah.
all made new friends. And so the idea there, and Orr really spearheaded this, Simon, he's really the founder, but was okay, let's do this again at a different coffee shop and let's invite more people. And the people that we all didn't know, we told them to invite more people. So it became a word of mouth thing, maybe a couple times a month. And our goal was make friends, but let's try a different coffee shop. And the idea with coffee is okay, not everyone drinks. So when you go out on a Friday to a bar, you're not going to meet, there's a lot of cool people that don't drink and go out, or maybe, they're not going to go to these bars for whatever reason. So you're limiting yourself. And that was part of the idea behind coffee is it's so harmless, it's nice, anyone can do it. And it's a way of meeting people without necessarily having to go out and drink. And so 310 Coffee Club turned into a community. Okay, now it's 40, 50, 60, 70 people that regularly come. And it really grew, and then we started getting sponsors. Popple is a really nice app. They sponsored us. We threw up like a mansion party in Beverly Hills of 300 people where they helped host. When I say party, I mean, it was still 11 a.m. on a Sunday with coffee.
Yeah.
But it was like, I mean, you felt like, wow, like you're meeting a lot of people and you can make it whatever you want it to be. One time we had a magician from America's Got Talent come do a magic show at another house or an event. Started from that. Now we have 415 Coffee Club in San Francisco
Mm.
and 310 Coffee Club. And it, I mean, it constantly get upwards of at least 100, maybe a couple hundred people. Now we have DJs, different events, different kind of, we try to incorporate icebreaker events or anything to make people be more social. Because one thing we noticed, which is interesting, is if you have an event of, let's say 100 people, like you're still going to have people gravitate towards their own friends. And so you're going to meet people, but you still have to be an extrovert in that atmosphere. Otherwise, the average person shows up, stays in their friend circle, maybe says hi to one or two people that they kind of know, and you kind of go back to square one. We're trying to do different ways of making it so
Yeah.
you're there, okay, so meet people, right? Like,
Right.
you can hang out with your friends anywhere else.
What's been the difference between the two coffee clubs, the 415 and the 310?
Well, it's so reflective of the city and the culture. So, I was at 415 Coffee Club last weekend, and you get such a San Francisco vibe to it, I think. So, I don't think everyone necessarily understands the difference between SF and LA. I've lived in both, but it's a very different, I would say I felt more of a Brooklyn, New York vibe there
Mm.
versus in LA, you get a Venice Beach vibe. So it's completely different, but both can have a DJ and have a fun vibe. But it's interesting. It's growing a lot in San Francisco because in San Francisco, you don't have as many of these social clubs. I mean, in LA, you have Venice Run Club, you have a lot of other social clubs. In
Mm.
San Francisco, you don't have as many, but it's really growing in San Francisco fast and it's much younger. But there's an enthusiasm of people wanting to help build the community. But it's more of a Brooklyn, New York vibe, the San
Yeah.
Francisco one, I would say. But the goals are the same. The things you do are the same. It's just the crowd that goes.
Right. I guess to kind of separate San Fran to LA so people following know where it's at in terms of going to the San Fran events, going to the LA events. I'm assuming that also kind of helps separate like the logistics aspect.
Yeah, do you mean people following it on social media?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
yeah, so there's a 415 at 415 Coffee Club on Instagram, and then there's an at 310 Coffee Club.
yeah,
310 being West LA, 415 being the area code in San Francisco. So
yeah.
those are the Instagram handles, and so anyone follows it, they'll constantly get updates. There's actually an event in LA on Sunday, which we've been planning. So it should go out next Sunday. The info should go out, but it's going to be somewhere really cool in Mar Vista with the DJ. So highly encourage everyone to come.
Yeah.
If you're looking to make friends, if you're looking to, if you're single, those are all great reasons to come. If you have a relationship, great. Bring your significant other. But I just have to add one thing. It's interesting. So initially, when we were having the conversation about doing a social event, one of my friends, and I'm going to shout out Michael, he was telling, or hey, like you should do so. We make an event for a community. And Michael met one of his girlfriends at one of the coffee clubs,
Oh,
and they're in a
nice.
serious relationship. And the two of them moved to Chicago now.
Wow.
So it's wild
Yeah.
to see that happening.
That is crazy. That's been the trend recently of like things moving to daytime activities as opposed to like clubs and tables and alcohol and stuff like that.
100%.
Yeah.
Especially with Gen Z. I think Gen Z's drinking less, right? Isn't
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
stat on that?
We're on that wellness journey of
We
like
are on
the
that
newer
lost journey.
generations. Yeah. That's how Coffee and Chill, and I believe that's how Run Club also got started, is through word of mouth, just a group of friends getting together. And now it's in also multiple cities, and everybody's starting it up. It is really hard to just to get it going in the very beginning, just to, stand up on this venture, to get it up and running, basically. So it's really cool that everything kind of aligned just at the right time to get the right people together and grow it. Because even I've done things like that. I called it actually Coffee and Connection, where it was supposed to be a networking thing. I had no idea what I was doing. This was way back. And I literally had, I think, 4 events. And two of them somebody showed up. It was crazy. I was like, this is harder than it looks. All I did was just put it on like Eventbrite or anything. I didn't like go all out with like getting few people together and getting them to bring people together. So the way you went about it was also like really thought out and well done. It doesn't always have to be that you're starting these things up. You could just be going to these things, and even that is enough to build your own social circle out of, because you meet people at other people's events, then maybe you do a small event of your own and you get some people from those events to come, and then maybe your event takes off. But it doesn't always have to be the you don't always have to be the innovator to build this lifestyle. So but the fact that you and or kind of led the way on this new thing that is going on in LA and San Francisco is very like commendable, and it's something that I admire, honestly, that you were able to build that and just do it out of your pure curiosity to do something, and just, what if we did this? And then it just ended up happening. So that's really cool. Now, in terms of where you see this going, do you think this is something you will turn into a business venture? Is it something you're going to continue to do for fun, or just out of the love of like just bringing people together?
So it's so funny because if you asked me that question 2 years ago, my answer probably would have been different. Well, in a way, it's the same. So for me, the whole goal, and it still completely is to make it a community, make it a way where you can make friends and get people to connect with each other. And so I don't think any of us thought there was going to be any business possibilities with this. The sole reason was, okay, I mean, at that time we were all single, right? And it's like, okay, like how can we meet a quality girl that's not going to be at the, bungalow at 1 a.m. Not that there aren't quality girls at bungalow at 1 a.m.,
Yeah.
but if you catch my drift. But as it's been growing, there's sponsorship opportunities. There's ways of really making this something special, I think. And so recently there's been potential for it to become a business model. But at least from my standpoint personally, and there's a few of us behind it. Obviously, Simon or he's the founder. He's the guy that's spearheading this. There's a few of us that are really helped bring this up. One of my friends, Jocelyn, she does a lot more than I do for this, but I still see it as more of making people become friends and growing it socially.
Mhm.
But there's new opportunities that maybe even like 6 months ago I didn't envision. But the goal is to grow it, make the events not necessarily bigger, right? I think someone might think, okay, to them, a successful event might be okay, like getting 1,000 people. But I think getting people that are quality people, like I would rather have 100 to 200 people that are nice, social, and make it really feel like a community than having 1,000 people and everyone's there. So having an event where you enjoy it, you make connections, sustainable, I would say. I mean, now that there's one in San Francisco and LA, I mean, growing to different cities would be really nice. But I think one thing that I've noticed, when something gets big, the quality goes down. That's anything, whether it's a fast food restaurant or even I would say a dating app, right? Like I think
Right.
most people would say Tinder's probably the worst one, right?
Way down
And
there.
so how do you keep something where the product is still quality,
Mhm.
right? In and Out versus McDonald's, for example.
Mhm. Yeah.
But so I think to me or everyone else involved is making it a really good community, and it'll slowly spread because I think if the product is good, then it will by word of mouth eventually spread the way you want it to.
Now, outside of that, do you think that kind of led into your personal life of having your own personal social circle and lifestyle and like whatever you built individually? As like since uh, Simon's in San Francisco, right? And you're in LA, you guys are just kind of running the project together. But in terms of it, like your personal life and lifestyle, do you feel that the coffee club kind of led you into that, gave you the skills, or had anything to do with it? Did it help you build your lifestyle? Did you do it on your like just completely from scratch too, or how did that look like on that end?
It really actually helped me too. So I guess bear in mind from my own personal experience,
Uh,
by the time Coffee Club was made, I felt a lot better socially. But, it was created, right? Like we helped it, come into fruition when I was looking to build a social circle in LA.
uh,
Definitely it helped me make a social circle. I can say two good friends, one of my good friends, I met at Coffee Club. That was my first time meeting him. And then a month later, we went to Miami for New Year's
Nice.
Eve. So it really did, especially in LA, help me become a lot more connected. I mean, there were people that, hey, I knew here and there, but after seeing them more and more times in Coffee Club, it made our connection stronger.
Mhm.
So definitely by sheer volume, it increased the friendships I had. But I also made a few really good friends through it. But I think beyond that, it opened me up to the idea of you can make friends or meet a significant other outside of the clubs, bars, or dating
Um,
apps, which is what I had always. I'm 34, so I would say, ever since from the age of 18 to 31, I was like parties, bars, clubs. That's what you have to do. That's it. And then dating apps came along and I guess here or there, but I was always okay. You want to make friends, you want to meet a significant other, you have to go to the bars. And after a certain point, when you look and you're like, not really getting the results I thought I was getting. You have to think outside the box. And Coffee Club really helped me do that, not just in Coffee Club, but in general, look outside the box. So, for example, I met my girlfriend, Audrey. I met her at a dental conference. And, I didn't imagine going into that conference, meeting a significant other necessarily, but I was definitely open minded to it because it was an environment where you can meet people,
mhm.
right? That's beyond some of those old conventional ones that I mentioned. I mean, psychologically, Coffee Club did a lot for me, for sure.
Yeah. I like to see the social circle aspect and learning to make friends aspect valuable in its own right because all those years you spent just figuring out moving to new cities and making new friends that built the skill for you to be able to connect with people for you to then be able to build a social circle where you are actually getting something out of it. It's kind of like the seed, it hadn't come out yet, but it was being watered that entire time. That's how I like to label cold approach in terms of like you see somebody on the street, you go up to them, you have a conversation. It's the worst way of getting somebody from A to Z in terms of building, not knowing them from like at all to building a relationship with them. In business terms, it's like the least conversion as opposed to having the lifestyle where you have some sort of status. It's like your event, or at the very least, you have some sort of commonality or bond because you guys are at the same event together. There's already some trust built to it. And so it's easier to convert that into some sort of a relationship, whether it's a friendship or like a girlfriend or boyfriend. So the skill of cold approach though is so transferable. Like even though the results are low, the skill itself helps you so much in so many other things that I would argue that that alone is the outcome, but you won't get the outcome unless you go all the way with it. But the outcome comes later on. You know what I mean? So I don't think you lost anything from just like being out all the time with no result. I think you gained a lot because it added so much to your character and the amount of what's the right word to use here? The amount of effort you're willing to put in spite of anything happening or your ability to connect as a reward of its own as opposed to seeking connection from someone else. And these are things you learn in the process because you can't go out and just talk to people hoping you get something from it. At some point, you're gonna fall on your face flat so many times that you're gonna quit unless you realize that you are connecting for the sake of connecting. You are out for the sake of your own fun and enjoyment, and then that leads to other things. So you become the priority. You have to put yourself first, and I really believe that all of that added to who you are now, and it all came together in this like thing you've built. And the way you're able to manage it too is a big part of it because building it is one thing, but then, like you said, people come to the events, but they stick to their own friends. You know, you need to invite them or give them permission to mingle and talk to each other, and you're the catalyst to that. And so managing it is a whole different ballgame, and you've been able to do both creating and managing. So it's awesome.
Thank
Uh,
you.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree with you more, by the way, about the whole if you went out, right, and you might think in that night, "Wow, what a waste," but
yeah,
you don't see the benefits right away. Like, it adds up, it improves you, you fine-tune yourself. So, I could not agree with you more.
yeah.
And that's not just why it's with anything. You're not gonna see instant results.
Yeah. And the more you develop this skill, like the more it applies to things outside of your social life. Like I've seen family relations improving out of this, which is so core, you know? Like if you live in a broken household and you just have that your entire life, it takes a toll on you. But if you're able to have difficult conversations, you're able to communicate on a level that other people perceive because you can't really communicate on your perception. You have to communicate on other people's perceptions, or else there's a disconnect. They won't understand you if you're talking about things they're not ready to hear. So I've seen this skill of being able to adapt, to have empathy, to have difficult conversations, to set boundaries. You learn all of this from socializing with people, from putting yourself out there, from learning to connect in spite of getting something. And it really transfers to all other aspects of life, work, family, relationships, friends, everything. So that I really believe that this is one of the most important and one of the hardest skills to learn because it takes so much. You have to have a tough skin and you have to have the drive to do it and you have to make the decision to do it. And what most people do is wait for some really bad event to happen for them to actually do something about it. And then at that point, they're rushing to get something again where it's like, just stop. You got to take two steps back and focus on yourself right now. It's not about replacing your ex girlfriend. Like, that's not going to solve anything. It's like divorces or breakups that people go through that then they then decide that they need to work on this. But it's crazy. People don't understand the cost of it not doing it there because you end up in a wrong relationship, you get married, you miss the red flags, you end up in a divorce after having kids, you lose the house, like it's a shit show, but you don't realize that early on, and it's just so powerful to have this. So yeah, that's it's amazing that you've gone through that journey. It's again like it's something that really I look at and I'm like, why doesn't everyone do this? You know? Now, is coffee club still word of mouth or is it open to the public?
Well, no, it's open to the public. So in the early days, it was word of mouth. Now there's ticketed events, there's DJs. I recommend to everyone, if they're interested, follow at 310 Coffee Club. The next event, very soon, there'll be information posted about it. But no, it's open to the public.
It was a 310 Coffee Club and the other was 410 Club.
Exactly. So at 415 Coffee Club, one word, and at 310 Coffee Clubs. Anyone that's interested can get tickets. I encourage you, if you're social and you want to make friends and you want to join a community that you've never been, to come and bring your friends.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anywhere else people can look into or is the main place Instagram? Like
Great
what?
question. So Instagram and then is the main place,
Uh,
but we're gonna be creating a newsletter and an email chain because not everyone has Instagram. But if there's anyone you know that's interested, I can send you the link and you can send it to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Send me the link anyway, and I'll add it to the description. It's for people to see.
Exactly, yeah, and through that you can go. I think it'll be a ticketed event. Anytime there's just a ticketed event, you get something for it. Like it'll
Right.
include coffee, something. But we've recently started incorporating DJs, which makes it so much more fun. It'll be house music.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And these events are so worth it because it's not just like the ticket and the coffee, like you get so much more out of it. And communities are really the way to go in the trend right now that's going up. And I don't see it going away anytime because like the whole generation is shifting towards that slowly. So yeah.
And by the way, I wanted to add, it can for people that still like going out at night, it can enhance that too because there's been so many times where, we go to coffee club, maybe later that day or another day, a big group of us go out to a bar and then we're just having so much fun together in that group that people around like it makes it so much easier to talk to people around us versus if you were with your buddy by yourself, right? Maybe a little bit more of a cold approach, but it's kind of like people look and say, "Oh, who are these fun people? I want to be around them," or. So there's a lot of times where people would come up to us, talking to us, or they're around us. It's so easy to incorporate them into the fun group. So these things, like you said, aren't mutually exclusive.
And that momentum is huge because you're having fun and all you got to do is just direct it at someone passing by, for example, as opposed to you and your friend are just standing in the corner and you're like, all right, I'm gonna build up enthusiasm and then go and say hi and hope it goes well. It's momentum is so huge, and that's why lifestyle plays such a big part in it and spreads to all other aspects of life. I really enjoyed hearing your story, Ain. I
Thank you.
appreciate the fact that you came on. You could say I kind of this was a overdue our combo. I
100%.
love hearing about it, and I'm gonna try to make it out to some of these events.
Yeah, would love to have you,
Yeah,
honestly.
I
You'll definitely enhance the vibe, and I'll introduce you to everyone there.
appreciate that. Yeah, I'll bring some people with me and spread the word. Thank you. Thanks again for coming on, brother.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.